on your radio, online and on the ABC Listen app. This is ABC Southern Queensland.
As I mentioned before, Redwood Park, people often refer to it as one of the jewels in the crown of Toowoomba's natural attractions. It's a magnificent park, 200 hectares or 490 acres of bushland on the Toowoomba escarpment. It's got bushwalking tracks, horse riding trails, mountain bike tracks. But recently there's been a fair bit of talk, you would be aware, I'm sure, of the park's growing popularity among the mountain biking community, and plans being developed to capitalise on that popularity by creating an even more comprehensive network of mountain biking tracks in the park to tap into that popularity and create a major attraction for mountain bikers from across the country. Now, that is a plan that has some of the devotees of the park's more natural attractions angry and concerned. In early 2020, the Darling Downs group of Birdlife Australia, Southern Queensland branch, embarked on a survey program in Redwood Park to get a better idea of some of the species of birds that call that park home. Scot McPhie is one of the report's authors. He joins me now. Scot McPhie, good morning. Welcome.
Yeah, good morning, David. How are you?
Scott, very well. Thank you so much for your time. Tell me, I presume that there had been other reports done into bird life in the park, but I believe with this report you were looking into areas that hadn't really been looked at comprehensively before. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I think this is the first focus study on the bird life of the park. Toowoomba bird observers have been holding outings there since the mid-'70s, so they've developed a booklet and a lengthy list of species in the whole park. There's at least 150 that we know of, but what we decided to do was a series of 9 survey sites over 12 months, which we visited about once a month, and we aligned those survey sites with the paths that the mountain bikes are hoping to go through. And so in that period of 12 months, we did 135 individual surveys. We spotted 85 species, and 4 of those species are what's called a matter of national environmental significance, which means that they're protected under federal legislation, and any disturbance to them or their habitat has to get referred to the Environment Minister. So that's probably the difference with what we've done here and the other surveys that have been occurring in Redwood over the years, I'd say.
So given that, I mean, obviously, and look, you would probably know better than I would, being having a vested interest in it, and you've been following this. But I'm not aware off the top of my head, forgive me, as to exactly where the proposal to extend the network of bike tracks, mountain bike tracks in Redwood Park is. But would you have any confidence, though, that as part of the EIS, that is the environmental impact statement, that is an intrinsic part of any application like that, that this what you have discovered in terms of these rare birds would also be covered in that statement?
Well, they're holding, as you may know, that they're holding or held yesterday, a series of meetings with interested parties. We made a representation there, and they were very interested in these 4 birds and under the MNES legislation. And so the way it works, it's a self-referral process where anyone proposing a development has to, if they come across anything like this, they have to refer it to the federal government. So it's up to, I imagine, the consultants doing this EIS will then tell either the council or Birdheart, the consultants who've designed these proposed trails, that this then has to get referred on for federal government approval. And look, if they don't refer it, we'll certainly be writing to the minister about it. And there's certain thresholds that have to get met in the legislation, and we're quite confident that what we found in our survey certainly meets and exceeds all those thresholds. And there are also, I'll just put this out there, there are also quite hefty fines if you don't refer this kind of thing on as well. So I'm sure this is going to go to the federal government for approval before anything can get done here as well.
So what are the implications in terms of, would there be any way for the planned mountain bike tracks and the bird life that you've discovered to coexist?
No. Basically, every site that we surveyed had at least one and usually about 3 of these birds in them. We purposely put our sites where the tracks are proposed, but we know the habitat that these birds prefer is pretty extensive throughout the park. So basically, wherever they put it, they're going to come up against this problem. And, this is part of the issue that we're concerned about, is that the environmental impact, just isn't acceptable. And then you've got all of the social impacts as well. And I really don't think the council have looked at this at all, because the submissions they're taking at the moment are purely environmental. There's nothing about the social and community impacts of this. And I don't know, David, if you've seen the actual master plan that Bird Art have given to council, but they're suggesting 75,000 people a year are going to come and use these mountain bike tracks. And, if the council actually asked any of the neighbours if they want 75,000 people coming through the area, the parking problems, the litter problems, the congestion problems are huge. And then, another thing that affects not only us as bird watchers, but just general community members is there's a lot of people that, and have for at least over a century, use that park just for gentle walking and recreation, and it's just incompatible with mountain biking. I mean, mountain bikes can get up to about 50 kilometres an hour on the downhill slopes, and you're looking at, 80 to 100 kilos travelling down there. The danger is just too high, and a lot of people have stopped walking in Jubilee purely for safety reasons. And so if these bikes go into Redwood, it's going to push all of the recreational users out of Redwood as well. And the council has no process at all for assessing that at the moment.
Scott, fair point, and we'll certainly talk to council to get an update from their perspective as well on the show tomorrow. But I'm just curious too, the application to have parts of Redwood Park heritage listed, that listing has been granted, but will that make any difference? Does that encroach on the areas that we're talking about here?
Well, the part that was approved was the Eagle's Nest itinerant camp, and that is outside the zone, and it's in their own outside the mountain bike plan, and it's in their own plans that they would skirt around any heritage listed areas. So that's one area within the park that has heritage listing, but the whole park itself, unfortunately, wasn't listed, which I have issues with. But there's not much we can do about that now, I think. But it's certainly a high value conservation zone, and it's also a really high value ecotourism. It's hard to estimate how many people go there, but if it's 10 people a day, that's over 3,650 person visits a year. I'm sure it would be well over 5,000. Yeah. So it's a great asset that's just not being utilised.
Scott, I appreciate it. I'm coming up to news. Appreciate your viewpoint. We will stay in touch and follow this issue as it progresses. But thank you very much for your perspective this morning.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, David. If I can just say to your listeners, hop on Twitter, go to @SaveRedwoodPark. You can see a link to the report that we've done there.
Scot McPhie, thanks so much.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. Scot McPhie, one of the authors of that report. It's news time, 7 o'clock.